Folks, stop whatever you are doing right now. Stop scrolling, stop sleeping, stop whatever midnight snack you are halfway through, because the Toronto Blue Jays just detonated a bomb in the middle of spring training and the entire baseball world is still picking up the pieces. Ross Atkins, the man, the myth, the general manager who apparently does not believe in sleep, just made one of the most electric moves of this entire offseason, and he did it quietly, in the dead of night, like a baseball assassin. The Colonel Blue Jays have officially brought back Max Scherzer. Mad Max is home. And if you are not already screaming into a pillow right now, then you clearly do not understand what just happened to this pitching rotation. Let us set the scene for you. It is late. It is a weekday. Spring training is already buzzing with energy. The Jays had just put together a solid game the day before. Everything was calm and predictable. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, Jon Heyman of the New York Post dropped the bombshell tweet that nobody saw coming at that hour. Max Scherzer is returning to the Toronto Blue Jays. Just like that, the baseball internet exploded. And here is the wild part. Most of the reporters covering this team were probably sound asleep when it happened. Only Heyman was awake to pull the trigger on the story. That alone tells you something about the theatrical timing of this franchise. The Blue Jays do not just make moves, they make moments. Now let us talk about the actual deal, because once the numbers came out, things got even more interesting. This is a one-year contract worth $3 million in base salary. $3 million. That is a far cry from the $15.5 million he made in 2025. But before you start feeling sorry for Max Scherzer, pump the brakes. Because buried in the fine print of this contract is a performance bonus structure so loaded that it could push the total value all the way to $13 million. Here is how it works. Scherzer picks up $1 million the moment he hits 65 innings pitched, and then another million for every 10 innings after that, all the way up to 155 innings. So if Max Scherzer stays healthy, stays on the mound, and just does what Max Scherzer does, this deal turns into an absolute bargain for the Blue Jays and a massive payday for the pitcher himself. The structure is genius, really. It protects Toronto if his body breaks down, which at 41 years old is always a genuine concern, and it rewards Scherzer handsomely if he proves the doubters wrong. It is the kind of contract that only works when both sides trust each other. And clearly, they do. Now look, the surface-level stats from last year are not going to make your jaw drop. A 5.19 ERA over 17 starts and 85 innings pitched in the regular season. That is not exactly the Max Scherzer of 2015. That is not the three-time Cy Young Award winner who was arguably the most dominant pitcher on the planet for a decade straight. That is not the guy who threw no-hitters, who went 82-35 with the Detroit Tigers, who helped lead a Washington Nationals team all the way to a World Series championship in 2019. No, the regular season numbers last year were humbled by a brutal injury gauntlet, back surgery, a nerve issue in his throwing arm, a thumb problem that kept him off the mound for 2 full months. The man was essentially pieced back together and still took the ball 17 times. That takes a level of toughness that most people simply do not have. But here is where the story gets truly magnificent. When the pressure was at its absolute highest, when the lights were brightest and the stakes were the biggest they had been in Toronto in over 3 decades, Max Scherzer did not shrink. He grew. He was left off the ALDS roster entirely, sitting and watching and waiting. And then came the ALCS against the Seattle Mariners. Game 4, tied 2-2 in the series. The Blue Jays needed a win desperately, and they handed the ball to their 41-year-old veteran. Scherzer went out there and dismantled Seattle 8-2, working through early inning trouble to completely stifle that Mariners lineup. And then came the moment that Blue Jays fans are going to talk about for decades. He was dominant in the 5th inning, and manager John Schneider came out to get him off the mound. Scherzer barked at his own manager on national television and refused to walk to the dugout. He went full bulldog on Schneider, who, to his enormous credit, backed off and let him stay in. When asked about it afterward, Schneider laughed and said he had been waiting for Max to yell at him all year. He said it was awesome. He said he thought Scherzer was going to kill him. That is the kind of alpha competitor you simply cannot manufacture. That personality, that ferocious refusal to lose, is not something you can teach a 22-year-old prospect in the minor leagues. You either have it or you do not. Max Scherzer has had it his entire career. Then came the World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, Game 3, Game 7. The Blue Jays found themselves with a 3-2 series lead heading home to Rogers Center, needing just one win in 2 games to become World Series champions for the first time since 1993, and Scherzer took the ball in Game 7 with the entire city of Toronto holding its breath. He gave them 4 1/3 innings of one-run ball. He walked off the mound to a roaring ovation from a crowd that understood they were watching something special, even as he handed the ball over to the bullpen. The Blue Jays ultimately fell 5-4 in 11 heartbreaking innings, the Dodgers taking the championship. But nobody looked at Max Scherzer and thought he let them down. He gave everything he had, and a full sold-out Rogers Center rose to its feet and let him know it. That standing ovation was earned, every single decibel of it. And now he is back, with unfinished business, with that same fire, with a chip on his shoulder the size of Rogers Center itself. Here is what makes this move so much smarter than it might first appear. The Blue Jays are not bringing Max Scherzer back because they expect him to be an ace. They are not paying him to replicate his peak years. They are bringing him back because of what he represents in that clubhouse, what he provides to the younger arms around him, and what he can still do when healthy at 41. Think about the pitchers surrounding him on this staff. Dylan Cease profiles as a true #1 starter and gives the rotation an elite, top-of-the-order presence the franchise has needed for years. Kevin Gausman is steady and experienced and already getting work in during spring training. Shane Bieber is going to miss the first couple of weeks of the season as he ramps up, but is fully expected to be a significant contributor. Trey Yesavage is one of the most electrifying young arms in baseball, though the team is going to be managing his innings carefully as they develop him. Cody Ponce just made his Blue Jays debut in spring training, looked sharp, and John Schneider has already given him a guaranteed spot in the starting rotation without having to earn it. And then you have Jose Berrios, who despite some tension with the organization remains a quality arm. That is already an elite rotation on its own. Now throw Mad Max into the mix. The effect Scherzer has on the younger guys in that clubhouse cannot be measured in ERA or innings pitched. When Trey Yesavage is frustrated after a rough outing, who does he turn to for perspective? When Cody Ponce is trying to figure out how to attack American League lineups for the first time, who helps him dissect the film and build a game plan? When a kid like Ricky Tiedemann or Adam Macko gets called up from Buffalo for the first time and feels the weight of pitching in a pennant race, who steadies them in the dugout? Max Scherzer, the man who has nearly 3,000 career innings pitched, the man who has won 3 Cy Young Awards, made 8 All-Star appearances, thrown 2 no-hitters, and holds a career earned run average of 3.22 over 18 Major League seasons. The man who needs just 37 more innings to reach 3,000 for his career, a milestone that will look just fine on his Hall of Fame plaque in Cooperstown, where he is almost certainly going to deliver a speech within 5 years of his retirement. Having that in your clubhouse every single day is priceless. John Schneider himself said Scherzer is not afraid to question anything and everything around him and pushes people to be better simply through his presence and his standards. That is a coaching staff addition disguised as a player signing. Now we cannot talk about this signing without addressing what it means for the rest of the roster. Eric Lauer's situation just got measurably cloudier. He has been making noise publicly, not exactly trashing the organization, but making it clear he is not entirely thrilled with his standing. The Scherzer signing makes him arguably more expendable, not less. And then there is Berrios, who has had his own tension with the team. You now have a genuine surplus of starting pitching, which is a beautiful problem to have in late February, but somebody is going to have to give way before opening day. Reports indicate that Scherzer will likely not be ready until late April or possibly May, as the team takes a patient approach, having him ramp up gradually after his injury-riddled 2025. That timeline actually works perfectly for everyone involved. Lauer potentially hangs around for the early weeks. Yesevich gets carefully managed. Bieber eases back in. And by the time Scherzer is fully ready to contribute, the rotation naturally sorts itself out. It is a sophisticated, layered approach to building a pitching staff, and this organization is executing it deliberately. When you zoom all the way out and look at the totality of what the Blue Jays have done this entire offseason, it is genuinely staggering. They brought in Dylan Cease to anchor the rotation at the top. They signed Kazuma Okamoto, who has already looked like a steal and is nearly going deep in spring training games. They added lockdown reliever Tyler Rogers to stabilize the back end of the bullpen. And now they have brought back the heart and soul of last year's World Series run in Max Scherzer. Yes, they lost Bo Bichette in free agency. Yes, Anthony Santander is navigating an injury situation. There are real questions that still need answering. But the overall trajectory of this franchise is unmistakably pointed at a championship. They were one win away from it last November. They went into the offseason aggressive, purposeful, and hungry, and they come out of it looking more dangerous than when they started. Consider the full picture of this rotation now. Dylan Cease at the top, capable of being the best starter in the American League on his best nights. Kevin Gausman, reliable and battle-tested. Shane Bieber, a quality arm who has shown flashes of greatness when fully healthy. Trey Yesevich, who could be one of the most exciting pitching stories in baseball this season. Cody Ponce, a genuine wildcard coming over from the Korean Baseball Organization with a guaranteed roster spot already secured. Jose Barrios, a veteran presence in his own right. And now, inserted into this already formidable group, a future Hall of Famer with World Series DNA and an absolute refusal to lose. The Blue Jays did not just add a pitcher, they added a culture setter. Max Scherzer is 41 years old. He has earned nearly $370 million over the course of his career. He has a career record of 221 wins against 117 losses. His career-adjusted ERA is equivalent to that of Sandy Koufax, one of the most revered pitchers in the history of the sport. He has won rings, he has won awards, he has thrown no-hitters on some of the biggest stages in the game. He has absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone on this planet. And yet, here he is, in February of 2026, taking a $3 million base salary and betting on himself through a performance bonus structure, heading to Dunedin, Florida to start ramping up with a team that still has championship aspirations burning in its bones. That tells you everything about who Max Scherzer is as a competitor. He is not here to collect a paycheck. He is not here for a farewell tour. He is here because he wants that World Series ring. Because he walked off that Rogers Center mound in November, hearing 60,000 people give him a standing ovation, watched the Dodgers celebrate on his field, and decided right then and there that he had one more run left in him, one more chance, one more shot at finishing what he started in a Blue Jays uniform. The Blue Jays gave him that chance, and Blue Jays fans should be absolutely electric about it. Mad Max is back in Toronto. The rotation is terrifying. The unfinished business is very, very real. And the 2026 season just got a whole lot more interesting. There are going to be more developments coming fast, more details on the contract, more updates as Scherzer reports to Dunedin, more roster battles heating up as this loaded group of pitchers fights for their spots. We are going to cover every single step of it right here on this channel together. So do not you dare go anywhere. If you are as fired up about this signing as you should be, smash that like button right now, because this kind of midnight madness content takes serious dedication to bring to you in real time. Drop a comment down below and tell me how you feel about Mad Max coming home to the Blue Jays. Are you all in on this rotation? Do you think Scherzer can stay healthy long enough to make the difference they need? And most importantly, do you believe this team is going all the way in 2026? I want to read every single one of your thoughts. And if you are new here and you somehow found this channel tonight, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this is where the Blue Jays conversation never stops, the updates never sleep, and the passion for this team never, ever wavers. Not even at midnight, not even close.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.